I don't know why Twitch always prompts me to log in.
Why?
I had to put in a verification code last week.
Really? That's weird.
Fine.
Have you noticed that Google Docs has been getting rid of all of our outlines on the left?
Yes, I have actually.
Where do they go?
I have no idea. I don't know what's going on with technology anymore. 881 499.
6 years.
6 long years.
It's been 92 years.
For some reason, I'm tempted to use the Obi-Wan. That's a name I've not heard in a long time, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. I still want to say it, though.
What We Do in the Shadows started back up last week, too. Have you been watching it?
I still need to watch that.
Dude, please start watching it.
It's on Hulu, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have Hulu.
Rampage! Zoom made your volume go way down when you did that.
Good.
It seems to be the lag seems to be a little bit better, so I don't know what's going on. It's still not great, but it's better than it was.
I mean, I'm usually lagging in real life anyway, so it makes sense for it to reflect on the show.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
I don't know if you felt this way, but like today went by really fast.
Not for me. Today was freaking slow.
Really?
Yeah. Days are always just slower for me in the summer while it's hot.
Understandable.
So I
don't know if it was just because today was busy at work, but like next thing I knew, it was time to go home.
Good evening, Farliston. You are not late. We haven't even started yet. We're just tooling around a little bit.
Shooting the breeze, as they would say.
Shooting the proverbial shit.
Well, I was going to keep it PG, but we'll go with that.
We get one good S-bomb to keep it PG-13, so.
Yeah.
Well, you can still have an S-bomb in PG movies. You can still do that, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, now the chat's finally working for me.
Awesome. All right, well, I've got everything up.
Yep, I'm all set.
Also, don't let me forget, I need to send you the artwork that I did. I redid the podcast artwork because remember how Photoshop screwed me over with the Creative Cloud saving. So I redid it, but for some reason I can't figure out how I italicized the lettering for Nerd Cave Retro. It won't let me do it anymore. So I did some new artwork for the news dump that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to send that to you and Wally so you can look at it and approve.
Okay.
So if you need me to, I can send you that PSD file.
Well, I was actually going to ask you for that because the our picture that I plan on photoshopping, I was going to. I've got an idea that it's going to take me a little bit of time to pull off, but I think it'll turn out really cool.
That's a cool picture. But yeah, I'm good to go if you are.
Yep, I've got all the tabs open, so I'm ready when you are, my friend.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Programs. We are back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
So I got a present over the weekend. Mr. Joey Image. Well, I'd gotten a hold a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, however long it was, about 2 months ago. I got a hold of a Sega Saturn, just the console, right? And it was given to me by a friend who was like, hey, I got a Sega Saturn and an N64. Do you want it? I was like, hell yeah, I want it. So he gave them to me, and I got the Sega Saturn. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to spend all this money on trying to get a system working that I'm not sure I'm going to like, because I've never played a Sega Saturn, and that's a lot of money to dump into it. So the first person I thought of was Mr. Joey Image, and texted him and said, hey, I got the Sega Saturn I'm going to send to you. As you know, just as a thank you for being a friend, just to have. And he was like, cool, man. And he's like, I'll send you a Dreamcast. I was like, you ain't got to, but okay. And I know people are thinking like, how is that a fair trade? Like a full Sega Dreamcast for just a Sega Saturn console. But you got to remember, Joey's the Sega Dreamcast hoarder. He's got like 85 of them in his closet. So he could do to lose one to me. So thank you very much, Mr. Joey Image, for sending that to me. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Dreamcast is a great console, so I'm excited for you to immerse yourself into it.
And if you've never seen his YouTube videos, just go to Joey Image TV on YouTube, and he's got an unboxing video that somebody sent him. Sega Dreamcast last year, I think it was, sometime.
That sounds right.
Hadn't even been open, like still in the package. And he did an unboxing video for that. And so go check out his videos. He's got a good YouTube channel over there. And say hi to him for us. Usually he's in the chat room. He might pop in a little bit. But thank you, Mr. Joey Image, when you're listening to this. And thank you so much for the Sega Dreamcast. I'm going to be talking about it a little bit later in the review portion of the show. So what about you? Anything exciting happen over the weekend?
Just working more on my movie. We've I mentioned this I think briefly last week, but we're going to be shooting August 13th and 14th.
Okay.
So I hope to have it edited maybe in like September or October. I'm not going to wait as long as I did with the Parker syndrome.
Yeah.
To get it done and edited. So hopefully we'll do some kind of premiere for it in the fall and then submit it to the festival run. But there is one important thing we need to talk about before we dive into the news, and that is the occasion of today. Mm-hmm. Not as it just Nerd Cave Retro, but 6 years ago to the day, we dropped the very first episode of the show. Does it feel like it's been 6 years?
It does and it doesn't. Like, it feels like yesterday, but then when I think about everything that's happened in the last 6 years, it's like, man, feels like a lifetime ago, but it also feels like yesterday.
Well, I think also is that, you and I were both in completely different places in our lives when we started the show. I was actually thinking about this today as far as like some of my favorite moments from the show. And I think, when I think of the show, I think of just some kind of behind the scenes stuff. Like, a lot of the reviews have been great. There have been fun stuff to talk about. But, I think of like the Pensacon panels that we've done. The two commentary tracks that come to mind are Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
And then driving to your house to do the Wizard commentary in person.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. Yeah. And then what was the other one that I was thinking of? Oh, it was back when we used to do the show just strictly on audio. Back when I worked at the Blue Wahoos, I don't know if some people remember this, but we used to record the show on Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. And during the summer, I would stay at the stadium and record the show because we would normally record around like 8, I think.
Yeah.
And the games would end around like 7:30. So I would leave the stadium and it would be like really dark. They'd shut all the lights off and it was really, really creepy, like a scene out of a horror movie. But those are moments that I think of when I think of Nerd Cave Retro.
Yeah, I just go back and think to the beginning how funny it is that the whole what our plans were for the show or had completely changed by like the third or fourth episode, because this was just supposed to be a like a seasonal podcast. We were going to do like 6 to 10 episodes in the summer and winter, and we were going to do maybe like 12 to 16 episodes a year. And it was because at the time when we started it, there was no there were hardly any, if any, retro gaming podcasts. Because I remember doing a search for, because I wanted to listen to we were getting back into retro gaming. I had hooked all my old Nintendo stuff back up and got into retro gaming again, and there were no podcasts to listen to, none. And so I told Derek, like, man, let's just make our own show, and we'll just do it, because we had other podcasts going on at the time, and we were like, let's just do it seasonally, and that way we won't stress ourselves out. Well, the show quickly became the most favorite thing I did all week because it was the least stressful thing I did all week, and the numbers were through the roof, but like from the beginning. So I was like, well, maybe we should just keep doing it all the time.
Yeah, we made that decision pretty quickly. I think it was after the first or second episode that we did.
Yeah.
We were like, we got to keep this going. And I'm glad we did, because who knows what number of episode we'd be on now if we stuck to the original plan. But here we are at episode 283.
Well, even if we just did 12 episodes a year, like what's 12 times 6? I can't even do it. Like 72.
I'm bad at math.
Like 72 episodes or something by now.
Was it 12 times 6?
Yeah, 12 times 6.
72.
Yeah, 72. We'd be at 72 episodes right now if we just did 12 episodes a year.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, I can't imagine not doing this show.
Yeah.
It's like, I think you and I especially, like, podcasting will be forever ingrained into both of us because we've both been doing it for so long.
Oh yeah.
With this show that we do together, with our separate shows that we've done in the past and currently, like, I can't imagine not at least doing one podcast a week.
Yeah. I mean, at the time I was doing Pop Culture Palette. You were doing the Nerd Cave, and were you doing Derek Diamond Experience at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this was your third podcast for the week.
At one point I was doing 5 shows a week.
Yeah, and
because I was doing this one, the Nerd Cave, the Derek Diamond Experience. I was doing a wrestling show and a fantasy football show.
And as much as I love doing the Pop Culture Palette, that show just took a lot of work because we put so much into that show, like doing the game show stuff and then trying to find things to talk about, because it was kind of a, just kind of a generalized podcast where we just kind of talked about whatever. And those kind of shows are kind of hard to do sometimes. And we had guests on here and there. It was mainly a guest show when we first started. It was when it was just me and Steve. But when it came down to just doing Nerd Cave Retro, like, this was just the easiest show I'd ever done. And it was stuff I was doing anyway. Like, I was playing those old games and wanting to talk about them. So it was just so easy to do. And there's never an end to retro gaming news. So we always have news to talk about. It's very rare that we're like, there's not much news this week. But, I still enjoy doing this show as much as I did in the beginning. This show kept me from going crazy a few times in my life when there were some huge life changes that happened to me a couple of years ago, and I left the show for about a month to kind of recover. But this was the one thing I could hang on to that kept me grounded, and I really appreciate the show, and I appreciate you, all the people that have been with us this whole time, the people that are still coming on. Thank you all very much for being here and listening to us do this show, because it is very much one of the most favorite things that I've ever done.
No, and feelings are right back at you, sir. I look forward to doing this every week. I know that with my old job, there'd be stretches where I couldn't do the show because of work. And then like you, I had to leave the show for a bit to take care of some personal issues that came up. So it's,
we always we always have good backups to cover for us too, if we ever need to.
And I was going to say, if that ever happens again with one of us, like we can keep the show going, which is good. So,
but yeah, thank all you guys in the chat room for hanging out with us. Axeblade and Rampage and Farliston, thank you guys. Thank all you guys for hanging out with us, and all you creepers that are watching right now. I know you're out there and you're watching. You don't have to say anything, but I know you're there. But thank you guys so much, and that's about all I got to say about it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself.
But it is time for the news.
Let's do it.
of our stories are sent to us by you. These in particular are sent to us by Armez Jackson and I Am the Rampage. And if you have a story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And right before we go into this, I do want to let everybody know that I have streamlined everything. nerdcaveretro.com now takes you to our link tree, and you can get to everything from there. So all you got to do, if you need to find out, Instagram, Twitter, our Patreon, whatever, it's all at the link tree, which is nerdcaveretro.com. So now we are streamlined, baby.
Hashtag streamlined.
Yeah.
And God bless Linktree, by the way.
I know, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And first story tonight comes from NintendoLife.com. Sega Genesis Mini 2 confirmed for North American release this October. It's announced it's bringing the Genesis Mini 2 console to North America on the 27th of October. It follows the original Mega Drive Mini and includes more Genesis titles and Sega CD games to boot, and was previously confirmed only for Japan, but we'll be enjoying the 50-plus games it comes with in the West, too. Console will come with the coveted 6-button pad, which I love that pad. I wish they would have had that for the first one. And some of the games are, they do have a lot of the Sega CD games coming for it, like they have Sonic CD, Shining Force CD, Sylphied, Night what does that say? Night Strikers?
Yes, Night Striker.
Ninja Warriors, Afterburner 2, Outrun, Outrunners, Virtua Racing, Super Hang-On, Sonic 3D Blast, The Ooze, Vector Man 2, Wanted Dead or Alive, Bonanza Brothers, Alien Soldier, Splatterhouse 2, Rolling Thunder 2, Lightning Force, and many, many, many more. And I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. This is a day one purchase for me.
It's the confirmed game so far.
Yes.
So there's a chance we're going to get more. Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is going to be a day one purchase for me. A lot of these games I have not played. I've professed my love for Sonic CD in the past. I actually have not reviewed Sonic 3D Blast. I keep forgetting about that game. It's been many, many years since I played it, so I'm excited to do that again. Vector Man 2 I've never played, but I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
There's a ton. And we've praised the Genesis Mini. It's, to me, the best of the mini consoles that have come out. Between that, the TurboGrafx, and the two Nintendos. So I think this is going to be even better.
And Joey Amos just joined us in the chat room. I knew he was going to be here. We were just talking about you, sir.
Joey!
Gave me the Dreamcast this weekend. And but the Sega CD, or the Sega Sega Genesis Mini 2 is coming out. That's so hard to say. That is a mouthful. But I can't wait. I love the first one. I can't wait to get this one. And I think they said the price is going to be $100, even though it's not in the article here. Wait, it says
it is
available for pre-order for the slightly unconventional price of $103.80 plus shipping, which I don't mind. I will easily pay that for this console.
Yeah, and like I said, there's going to be more games, I think, that they announce, so it'll be worth it.
And Axblade said in the chat room that apparently it is an Amazon exclusive in the USA. That's kind of weird.
That is very weird.
Huh. Because I went and got mine at Walmart, the original one.
I can't remember where I bought mine. Seems like forever ago. But
Yeah.
I'm getting it either way. Let's see. Our next story also comes to us from NintendoLife.com. Best Nintendo Switch beat 'em ups. Let's see. Beat 'em ups have been a staple of gaming since the mid-1980s, when Kung Fu Master birthed the genre in the arcades. It was arguably 1987's Double Dragon, which kicked off the golden age of the side-scrolling brawler. Though in some of our best gaming memories involve strutting down streets and getting into digital scraps, usually with a player or two at our side, unless you're an only child like me and you had to go it alone. There's a beautiful simplicity and accessibility to beat 'em ups that make for perfect local multiplayer fun. So they have a list of best beat 'em ups that are on the Switch that include Fight and Rage, Castle Crashers Remastered,
Castle Crashers is great,
Streets of Red, Devil's Dare Deluxe, the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle,
I highly recommend that. That is
which
a good
includes
purchase.
Final Fight and Battle Circuit. Wolverblade, which looks kind of cool. Ape Out, Double Dragon, and Kunio Kun Retro Brawler Bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Turbo's Arcade Night Slashers, Sega Mega Drive Classics, Sengoku 3, The Ninja Saviors Return of the Warriors, Bud Spencer and Terrence Hill Slaps and Beans. Love that name.
Love it.
Let's see, Mutation Nation, River City Girls, Streets of Rage 4. It doesn't have Shredder's Revenge on here.
This, that needs to be on here.
Yeah,
they do have Double Dragon Neon, which I know is a favorite of I Am the Rampage. He loves that game.
I don't know if reviewing Shredder's Revenge would be kosher because it's not technically a retro game.
Well,
but...
it's on here. It's way down at the bottom.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I must have missed it. Oh, yeah, it says here at the top of the article, updated with Shredder's Revenge. Okay, so it is on there. Good. But a lot of these I have not played. I've heard good things about them. And I know when we had Brian Dunaway on a few weeks ago, we talked about beat 'em ups. We did our top fives. And it's interesting that there's almost been like a resurrection or a renaissance of beat 'em ups.
And I love a good beat 'em up. That is probably my favorite genre of video games is a good side-scrolling beat 'em up. Like, I can just get sucked into those games.
Yeah, it's up there for me. Platformers would still probably be my number one, but it'd definitely be in the top 3 to top 5.
Like, that Capcom bundle is really good. I highly suggest that. Of course, Shredder's Revenge. Streets of Rage 4 is probably one of the best beat 'em ups ever made. So if you haven't played Streets of Rage 4, that I would say if you haven't played any of these, that's the one to get is Streets of Rage 4. Start with that one and then go from there.
I still need to play it.
Oh, dude, it's so good. It's so good. And you can get it on the Switch, PS4, wherever you want to play it at.
Yeah.
Next story comes from escapistmagazine.com. Black Jewel Reborn is a new hack and slash for the NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and Game Boy. German indie developer PSCD Games has launched a Kickstarter for Black Jewel Reborn, a co-op hack and slash game with an awesome twist. Is coming to the NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy as 4 different versions catering to the individual hardware. The premise of the game is spectacularly generic. Darkor has stolen the Black Jewel from the Temple of Power, and Ryan the Barbarian, I didn't notice that at first, and Julia the Amazon are the only 2 people strong enough to get it back and stop Darkor from taking over the kingdom. Everything about it is just great. That sounds awesome to me. Like, that's the storyline. That's all you need for a good hack and slash NES game. Like, that's all you need to know. That's all we got back in the day. It was just one little paragraph of a story and then just boom, go.
I just can't get over the fact that the barbarian's name is Ryan.
Yeah.
he's an accountant by day, barbarian by night.
You know, I mean, they could at least called him Brian the Barbarian and had some alliteration, you know.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit better.
Barbarian named Ryan.
Oh, man,
So
that's great. But it does sound fun, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just go to Kickstarter and look for, it's called Black Jewel Reborn, and just look up PSCD Games.
And there's a screen cap on this article that shows what I'm assuming is the different versions of the game.
Yeah.
So you can see like the difference between the NES, SNES, so on and so forth. Like the Game Boy one is just so prevalent to me because I'm like, God, it makes me think of staring at that screen in the car when I was a kid.
It looks cool. It looks very much like a kind of a Castlevania slash, almost like a Ghosts and Goblins slash Castlevania type of look to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I dig it.
Yeah. Let's see. Next up from NintendoLife.com, a brand new 3DS game is launching this week. If you remember, a little while back, we reported on a rather ambitious indie developer from Australia who's looking to bring 7 new titles to the Wii U and 3DS, defying the upcoming eShop closure. I remember us talking about that. One of those games is about to come to fruition as Silver Falls Ghoulbusters will be launching on the Nintendo 3DS on July 14th, with release dates in Europe and Australia to follow soon. The game follows Silver Falls 3 Down Stars, which launched back in January 2020 to middling reviews. Although it sounds remarkably similar to a small 1984 movie starring up-and-comers Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver, Silver Falls Ghoulbusters is an homage to classic 2D platformers and is said to boast tightly designed levels that will provide a solid challenge for all gamers.
I love the fact that we're getting new games for old systems.
And it's only $10, and it's really not a lot. But it says here the story is set in the early 1990s. Ghoulbusters draws on decades of inspiration of challenging, adrenaline-pumping, side-scrolling platforming action. Each level in Ghoulbusters offers something new and exciting, no gimmicks or complications, and no random generation. Every level is tightly designed to offer the same kinds of satisfying challenges that made the 90s the golden era for platforming games.
It looks pretty cool. I dig the graphics for it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of as far as like, the characters have like oversized heads and small bodies. It's very cartoonish. Yeah. It looks cool. It looks very cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
This next story is... Where is it at? Here it is. This is the last story, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. From comicbook.com. Classic Super Mario Brothers anime previews English dub. You may not have known it before now, but Super Mario Brothers once had an anime. Way back in the day. Actually, I forgot to put that story in here about Nintendo buying the anime studio.
I was going to talk about that after this.
Okay. Way back in the day, the team at Nintendo worked with Grouper Productions to turn its hit IP into an anime for fans to enjoy. The 1986 affair faded into deep obscurity not long after its release, but fans have been mesmerized by the odd bit of history for decades. After its recent restoration in 4K, Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach has teased its English dub. The peak comes from Mario Radio Show on Twitter, as the page is helping dub the anime throwback into English. And you can go to @Mario Radio Show on Twitter, and you can watch the clip right there on their Twitter page.
As soon as I saw the name of this page, I just said in my head, it's the Super Mario Brothers Radio Show. Yeah. This is cool. I had no idea this even existed.
I didn't either. No idea.
Yeah. Did you watch the clip?
No, I haven't watched the clip yet, but I'm going to. I just put this in the doc like right before the show.
It screams 80s animation.
Yeah,
I'll just say that. But I'd be interested in watching the final product because as cheesy as it was, I did like Mario Brothers Super Show and the other series that followed. So I'd be curious to check this out once they dub it.
But yeah, we said right at the beginning of this story that Nintendo this last week bought an anime studio.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
know? And it's going to be rebranded Nintendo Pictures.
Do you know right offhand which anime studio it was that they bought?
Let's see. Okay, this is from avclub.com. THR reports the Japanese game company has just acquired a new animation studio, soon to be rebranded as Nintendo Pictures. Specifically, the Mario makers have picked up visual content company Dynamo Pictures Incorporated with the intent of relaunching it this October as an in-house animation studio. So there's two things that come to mind when I think of this. Obviously, doing full-on animated movies, which I definitely think they should do.
Yeah.
But I could also see them adding anime-style cutscenes to some of their games, which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think if they go the animated movie route, I think we're going to get a Zelda announcement. Will be one of the first that they do. At least it's what they should do.
I agree. I hope it's a series and not Well, I mean, if it's a movie, fine, but I think Zelda needs to be more long form. And Rampage said Metroid anime is a must. That definitely, and I could also see Metroid being a long form type of series, or maybe just like a one off, and actually make it dark and maybe not rated R, but definitely make it dark and scary, like almost a
I
horror movie.
I would love that. Metroid would be one of the few properties that I think I would prefer live action to anime. But if they did a Metroid anime, I'm still going to watch it. Like, I'm not going to
Oh
complain
yeah.
because we've talked about this for years, how Nintendo just has this long list of great projects that they could turn into movies or series. And I agree with you. If they adapt, say they adapt Link to the Past, you can't do that in one movie.
Yeah.
It's either got to be a 2-part movie or you do a series where you can actually adapt the entire game.
And that's the thing with Zelda. Each season could be a different time frame for the Zelda. Because the Zelda timeline is so all over the place. Each season could tell a different story, or like a different game almost. Like you could do the Link to the Past season. You could do the Ocarina of Time season. You could do Breath of the Wild season. Like there's so much story to tell in a long form anime series with Zelda.
I hope that's one of, if not the first project that they do. I mean, we've got the Mario movie coming out, so I don't think it's going to be that necessarily. Star Fox would be another great one. You mentioned F-Zero when we talked about it the other day. I think that would be a great one as well.
Because F-Zero, they did a lot of world building in F-Zero. With just what little they gave you, that's a cool world to explore, and with those characters.
If they do F-Zero, they have to make Captain Falcon like he was in the Smash Brothers games, just a complete obnoxious douchebag.
Absolutely.
I would love it.
But that would be awesome. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a while before we get an announcement on anything, because you know how Nintendo is. They will not tell you anything. They'll wait till the day they're going to drop it and be like, they'll come out with their Nintendo Direct and be like, hey, right now, the Legend of Zelda series just dropped on Netflix, and it'll be there for us to watch.
And there's just a clip of Link saying, "Excuse me, princess."
Excuse me, princess. Makes me want to vomit.
It's so bad, I love it.
But let's go ahead and do. We got a little bit of video game history. What do you say?
Let's do it.
On July 5th of 1987, the Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards adventure is released by Sierra Entertainment. Did you ever get to play the Leisure Suit Larry games?
I can't say that I have.
I've seen them. I've never played them. I might actually have to go to Good Old Games or something and get a Leisure Suit Larry game and actually review it for the show. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. And just the name Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards, try and saying that 5 times fast.
It was so tawdry, back in the day, but I'm sure it's so tame and lame now.
It's probably just like corny at this point.
I'm sure.
Yeah. July 20th of 1994, LucasArts releases TIE Fighter for MS-DOS, one of the numerous Star Wars computer games that came out during that period of time.
Love those games. That's why I went and got me a really awesome flight stick I had back in the day, and played X-Wing Fighter and TIE Fighter and Rebel Assault. All those games had the most awesome flight stick ever for my computer back then.
So I was reading up about this game. They actually did expansions for this that included Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that.
Yeah, it says here the original game ends with the player preventing a coup against Emperor Palpatine and being personally rewarded. Subsequent expansions focus on Admiral Thrawn's efforts to stop an Imperial traitor. The final mission of the second expansion concludes just before the climactic battle at the end of Return of the Jedi. I did not know that until today.
I didn't either. Yeah, Axblade said in the chat room, if we do Leisure Suit Larry, that could be our first NC-17 episode. I'm sure it's not even that bad these days.
I'm telling you, though, if we did a Nerd Cave Retro After Dark, that would be fun.
Maybe we'll do a Patreon exclusive. We'll do an exclusive just for patron members that month.
We have to get Bison smoking jackets.
Yes.
And light up some cigars.
I'm down. I'm down for that. We'll get some mood lighting. You know, I got my lights in here. I can turn them red and blue. You know, make it nice and dark in here.
The intro theme has to be "Careless Whisper" by George Michael.
I'm sure we'll get sued out of existence for that, but okay. It's fine.
maybe not that, but I think it's a good idea.
I'll find something on something that's free to use, like royalty free, that's close to it.
If we really want to drive the listeners away, find like a cheap karaoke knockoff of it.
Yeah. July 5th of 1996, Sonic Team releases Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn. I remember us talking about this because I really like the cover art for this, but I've never played this game, and this might be something Joey might want to pick up since he's got a Sega Saturn now.
I've wanted to play this game for years. I never owned a Sega Saturn. Whenever I do eventually get one, this is going to be the first game that I get, because this is like up there on my list of games that I want to review. Just like if you're naming off games that just off the top of my head that I'm like, oh, I really want to talk about, it's up there. So yeah. I also had a really cool comic series back in the day when Archie Comics published the Sonic comic book. They also did like a Knights 6-issue series, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get the Sega Saturn Mini, it'll be on there.
Oh, I'm sure it will. July 19th of 2001, Square releases Final Fantasy X for the PlayStation 2 in Japan. One of two Final Fantasy games that I remember being promoted like crazy on TV. It was like during this time frame when the game came out in the US, I saw commercials for Final Fantasy X all the time, like on most channels. They were crazy.
I don't remember any advertisement for this game. Maybe I just wasn't watching the right channels.
This, and there was actually a sequel called Final Fantasy X-2 that was promoted a lot as well. I've never played them, though.
They're talking in the chat room about Joey said we need a Dreamcast Mini. I guarantee you that's coming, and they're going to combine. This is my prediction, is that the Sega has done so good with the mini consoles. We're going to get a Sega Dreamcast console, and it's going to be a combination Dreamcast and with all the Saturn, maybe not all the Saturn stuff, but a lot of Saturn games on it, too. That's just my prediction.
See that. I could definitely see that.
But before we go into the review tonight, Derek has Patreon shoutouts.
Patreon shoutouts. As always, we'd like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out Daniel Salmon, Tyler Watson, Axblade07, Armez Jackson, Hand Solo, Carlos Longoria, aka Rampage, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Mike Eveland, Brandon Rutledge, and Mr. Joey Image. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions, keeping the lights on for us here at the Nerd Cave Retro Show. And if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, you get early access to our fun commentary tracks. As I mentioned earlier, The Wizard and Super Mario Brothers are just two of the numerous, I've lost count of the number of commentary tracks that we've done throughout the years, but we have everything from full-length movies to cartoons. I don't know if we've done any live action shows. I don't think we have, from what I can remember.
I don't think we've done shows. I mean, we've done movies. We just haven't done any live action shows.
Yeah, we'll have to do that at some point. But yeah, just numerous.
We should just do a throwback, TGIF, where we watch an episode of Full House, Perfect Strangers. What else was Family Matters? And what else? Step by Step, or what was another TGIF?
Let me look that up. Let's see. TGIF lineup.
Because all that stuff is available between Hulu and,
So in the 90s, we had Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and Just the 10 of Us. I
Just the
remember
10 of
Just the
us.
10 of Us.
Ooh, we got to do that. I loved that show for some reason. Probably dumb as hell today, but we should do that.
I mean, I'd be okay with that. That'd be fun.
I'm down
It'd be,
for it. It'd be less than, I mean, it'd only be like an hour and 45 minutes to do
yeah, because each
4 episodes.
show, yeah, without commercials is 22 minutes.
Yeah, we could do
So,
that.
yeah, I'm down with
The
that.
TGIF cast. I like it. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I like it. But yeah, if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, just head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And for new patrons, be sure to send us your social media info, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, so we can give you a proper shout out.
And tonight we will be talking about God, I miss 90s like rockin' video game music.
God, that song is so good. I love it.
Marvel vs. Capcom is a series of crossover fighting games developed and published by Capcom, featuring characters from their very own video game franchises and comic book series published by Marvel Comics. It originated as a coin-operated arcade game, although later release would be specifically developed for home consoles, handhelds, and personal computers. Me personally, I played it on the Sega Dreamcast, which I spoke about earlier. That was sent to me by Mr. Joey Image, and that was actually this is the first game I popped in when I got it to see if it worked, and put it on the TV, started playing it, and I immediately was like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome, because I'm not good at fighting games, but I still enjoy playing them anyway. And you know, I'm just not good at fighting games at all.
I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I enjoy them. Like, I've talked about Mortal Kombat and other fighting games like Street Fighter. I'm not great, but they're still fun to play. And it's funny because, I've talked about how I don't have a ton of experience with arcades because I just didn't live close to one.
Mm-hmm.
In the mall that was about an hour from where I lived growing up, there was an arcade, and the game that usually comes to mind when I think of that arcade was Marvel versus Capcom.
Well,
Like that was one of the machines that everybody flocked to.
Yeah, I mean, even still to this day, it's a popular popular arcade cabinet. Like, you can still find them in places like bowling alleys, and sometimes you'll go to a grocery store or something, or a restaurant, and they'll have Marvel versus Capcom, and it's still so fun to play. And this one is basically just a direct port of the arcade, which was crazy by the end of the 90s, because the late 80s, early 90s, you would get arcade ports to like the NES, the Super Nintendo, and they wouldn't be one-to-one ports. Like, you got Double Dragon and stuff like that on the original NES, and they weren't necessarily as good as the arcade. They never were. They were good enough for what they were for the Nintendo and what the Nintendo could do. Then you got to the Super Nintendo, and it got a little better. But then you had games like Final Fight, which, I don't know why. Maybe they ran out of space on the cartridges or whatever, but like Guy wasn't there anymore. It was just Hager and Cody. And it was, I think there were some levels that were missing, like maybe a boss or two that was taken out of the Super Nintendo port. Later on, they put out games that were direct ports of the arcade games, but by the late 90s, games like this were absolute direct ports of the arcades. And as soon as I turned this on, like, one of the things I wanted to talk about was just the Dreamcast itself and what I've played so far, and the games I've played on it so far. And I don't know why this console failed, because I'll be honest, and this is might be a controversial statement, I don't know. I did not like the original PlayStation. It felt flimsy, and it still does to me to this day. The controllers, even up to now, like even the PS4 controller, I haven't played a 5 yet, and I imagine it's still the same. PlayStation controllers always felt flimsy to me, but this controller for the Sega Dreamcast itself, it feels solid, and the controller is light, but it's big, and it's plasticky, and it feels like a toy, but it feels solid. Like I'm not gonna break this thing. Like even the Nintendo 64 still kind of felt like, that thumbstick felt like it was gonna break any second. And that controller sucked. It did. Let's just admit it. The N64 controller is terrible, but the Dreamcast controller fits nicely in the hand. It's not quite the level of the Duke for the original Xbox, but it's nice and meaty. It's not quite holding a canned ham like the original Duke was, but it's up there, and it's beefy, and it feels nice, and it's got nice action on the D-pad and the buttons, and I like this console a lot, and I wish I would have bought one back then.
That was going to be my big question for you, was what you thought of the Dreamcast controller, because I haven't held one since probably the early 2000s.
I mean, if you're going to give me a controller with only one analog stick, that's the one I'm going to pick. It's not going to be the Nintendo 64. And, I haven't really used the analog stick so far on a lot of the games I've played on it. But it feels nice. Like, that controller feels nice.
You're going to talk me into getting a Dreamcast.
You should. It's nice. I mean, and the sound is great. Like and there's hardly any load time. Like, do you remember the original PlayStation? You would put a game in, and just the freaking load time was like, all right, well, I'm going to put this game in, and I'm going to go make a freaking sandwich and take a nap, and maybe my game will be ready to go by the time I'm done. This thing, you pop the disc in, like 10 seconds at the most, and you're in the game ready to play.
Yeah, and I don't think your opinion on the original PlayStation is that controversial. Like I liked it, but I didn't love it. You mentioning the load times, it brings back flashbacks of when Hurricane Aaron hit here back in the 90s, and I stayed at my uncle's house for a couple of days because he had power and my parents didn't. And I remember playing his PlayStation, because that was where I was first introduced to Crash Bandicoot. Playing Crash Bandicoot 2. And he had the PlayStation and he had the Super Nintendo. But I just kept going back to the Super Nintendo because, you put the disc in and you just have to wait forever for the game to load.
Yeah. And I'm actually thinking, me and Joey were talking about it, and there's this adapter you can get that'll turn it to HDMI. And I'm going to try to get one of those so I can start streaming the Dreamcast to Twitch. And there's a lot of good games on there I want to play and I want to stream. So especially things like this, like Marvel vs. Capcom, it's not as much as I thought it would be. Like, I'm used to having like modern day fighting games where you kind of get a little bit of a story mode with it, especially like some of the newer Mortal Kombat games and things like that. You get like a story mode with it, but with these kind of older games, there's really no story to it. It's just arcade mode or survival mode. You get like different game modes with it, and that's okay. But I wish that this game, because you've got all these cool Marvel characters, you've got all these cool, what am I trying?
Capcom characters. You have like Mega Man, you have Ryu, you've got some other characters as well.
You got Strider in there. You got all these cool Capcom characters. You could have had some really cool reason for them to be together and fighting, but it's just kind of like, all right, well, here's all these cool characters, go fight. And that's fun, but give me a little bit of a reason.
The selling point is you can play as Spider-Man and fight Mega Man, or vice versa.
And which is actually a pretty good combination, is Mega Man and Spider-Man. Played that combo a few times. And my favorite two combos were Mega Man and Spider-Man and Wolverine and Venom. Those were my two favorite combos to go with. And I put it out on Twitter the other day. I was playing this game and trying to get through the arcade mode. Chun Li is stupidly overpowered in this game. I could not. Probably she kicked my butt probably 8 out of every 10 fights that I had against her.
I feel like most fighting games from that era, though, like they had the one character that was just next to impossible to beat.
Because she's just all over the place, and she just does that stupid kick thing where she's like, and just kicking all over the place. I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't. I'm just stuck in a corner. Every time I try to jump over her, she jumps up and just knocks me out of the air. Like, I don't know what to do here.
Isn't that demoralizing when that happens? Like
Yeah.
the first time you fight a character like that and you're dead.
And then I mostly just played it and tried to figure out a lot of the moves on my own, because I did go to Google and tried to look up a moves list for the game, and I'm looking at this list and I'm just like, I'm not ever gonna remember any of this. Like, this is like reading hieroglyphics. It's just this too much.
Yeah, it is. It's been a long time since I played Marvel vs. Capcom, but when I saw that you were reviewing it brought back a lot of fun memories of going to that arcade
Yeah.
and playing that game, and then even playing the home version with some friends, because it's, who wouldn't want to play Marvel vs. Capcom? Like if you're a teenager or a little bit younger, when you can like play as Spider-Man or Mega Man or Ryu versus Wolverine, like it's just such a cool idea. And then seeing it happen in live action, yeah, I agree with you. I wish there was more of a story aspect to it, but it's still fun.
It's definitely one of those games too. If you have a Dreamcast or whatever you can play this on, it's definitely a great party game. Because who doesn't want to play a fighting game with Marvel characters and Capcom characters? Like, just the Marvel characters alone are enough of a draw to be able to get people into wanting to play this game, because the graphics for this game are gorgeous. Like, the character designs, the way they move, the way they fight is just so ridiculously awesome. Like, I don't even need to play the game. I could just watch people play this game.
And not to mention the roster and the number of characters that you can choose from is just insane.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but I pulled up a list and I saw it and was just like, holy crap. There's a ton of characters. So like you have no shortage of combos or characters to try out and choose from.
And Rampage asked in the chat room if I played any of the secret alternate characters yet, like Orange, Hulk, or Shadow. No, I haven't gotten that far yet to really like unlock any characters, because I'm still trying to get through the arcade mode. Even though I put it on easy, I'm still getting my butt kicked, because like I said, I like fighting games, but I'm not good at them.
Yeah, I didn't know there were secret characters.
And I know there's a couple times where I picked like the Hulk and it would actually be like, gray Hulk and not green Hulk. I'm like, I don't know how to change that. I want to be green Hulk.
Yeah, like Gray Hulk is important because that's the first version, but like everybody likes the Green Hulk.
And I tell you who else is badass in this game is what's the Russian guy for Capcom? Why am I forgetting his name? You know who I'm talking about.
I picture him in my mind, but I don't know the name.
Zangief. Yeah, is that it? Zangief?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zangief. Yeah.
I came up to a battle with Zangief and Chun Li, and I finally got past her. And Zangief came running in and instantly pile drived me and killed me instantly. Like, this is just stupid.
Yeah. But still, it's like when that happens, you can't help but laugh.
Yeah. I mean, and just like you said, like just the characters that you can play, the amount of characters that are available to you. I mean, as soon as you start, like it's almost like choice paralysis when you first play the game, because you're just like, who do I want to play? There's so many cool characters to play in this game, and like I said, there's no story mode to it or anything, but it's definitely one of those games you can still get a lot of fun playing just even if you have nobody to play, you can still play a single player, and it's still really fun to play. And I played it for so long on Saturday. I still have Nintendo thumb. Like, my thumb is still sore from how long I played this game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's one of those games, like I can remember getting Nintendo thumbs from like Mortal Kombat. So I can see why.
Yeah, speaking of Mortal Kombat, I just picked up a copy of Mortal Kombat 10
I saw
yesterday
that.
because I actually at the GameStop right down the street from me, they held on to a Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga poster for me, and the guy called me on Saturday and said he had it held for me, and I said I would be there on Sunday to go pick it up. So, well, I went by the GameStop. They were having a huge sale yesterday on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games. It was buy four for $20, and I got Mortal Kombat 10. I got Last of Us Remastered, God of War, and Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'm between those games, the Dreamcast, and I'm good for like the next year of gaming.
Yeah, I was about to say you'll be good for a while.
I'm stuffed. I got nothing. I got no more room. I've got eaten all the gaming sub sandwich, and I got no room left for anything new.
You're just leaned back in your chair. You had to undo your belt. You're just like,
Undo the belt buckle. It's video game Thanksgiving is what just happened.
yep, you're gonna go into a game food coma.
But I mean, like I said, there's not really much more I can say about it. If it's one of those games you just have to experience if you've never played it, and there's no shortage of ways to play this game. I'm sure there's versions. I mean, there's like 10 different versions of this game. I mean, you got let's see, there's X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, 3, Fate of Two Worlds, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs. Capcom Origins, and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which was the last one that came out for the PlayStation 4, and that one was released in 2017. So there's ways to play these games, and I'm not saying you got to go out and get a Dreamcast to play it or anything, but that's a good way to play it if you have a Dreamcast and you don't have a copy of this game. It's very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, it gets a solid 8 for just out of sheer fun factor. Like, I would love to, if there would have, like I said, if there had been a story mode or, other ways to enjoy the game, but it's pretty solid on its own. It's be a great party game, and just one of those games that just you could break out at any time. If you don't know what you want to play, you could just pop in Marvel versus Capcom and play a few rounds, and it's one of those type of games. So solid 8 from me.
Yeah, if you don't have fun playing Marvel vs. Capcom, then I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Yeah, and we asked not too long ago our patrons and listeners of the show what they would like to hear from us. And one of the ones we got was we don't really do too many fighting games, and they want to hear more fighting games. So there you go. There was a fighting game for you, and I'm sure we'll do more. And they're already saying in the chat room I need to do part 2, which I will, because I played a little bit of it yesterday. Not much, just popped it in for a little bit. But yeah, they're good games, man. They're so good. I'm ready to play part 2.
Yeah, I don't remember if I've played 2. I think I have. Like I know for a fact I've played the first one numerous times, but I don't know if I've ever played the second one.
And Joey Image says next time I'm up there, his wife says she'll marathon play it with me. She loves random butt mashing. That's all I do in fighting games. I try to find like what the main move is. Like, it's usually down forward punch, and you'll do something cool. That's your standard, like, Street Fighter move. Like, back down forward punch is like, we'll do some special move. As long as I get that, I'm good. And then everything else is just button mashing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for my review for this week. What you got? What you got coming up this next week with feature presentation?
Yeah, so two actually really good shows coming up. So tonight I'm going to be chatting with talent agent Tiana Jackson, who was the first Black woman to be elected to the Association of Talent Agents Board of Directors.
Cool.
She started her own talent agency years ago with zero experience, and she was featured in the New York Times a couple of years ago. So that'll be a fun chat. And then next week I'll be chatting with visual effects designer Zach Hamilton, who was one of the visual effects designers for a little known show called Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Awesome. That show is so good.
It is. I need to finish it up before next week, but I'm really excited to chat with him.
You haven't seen the season finale? You need to get on that.
Yeah, I think I've got like 2 episodes left.
The show is so good.
It's really good.
That's my recommendation for the week. Go get Paramount Plus and watch Strange New Worlds if you've never seen it.
I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I really like that show.
Yeah. That show is the spirit of Star Trek.
And then for next week's show, we talked about our anonymous donor who requested that you review Final Fantasy VII. They requested that I review Gex Enter the Gecko for the PlayStation. So awesome. I will be reviewing that next week.
Fantastic. And for the Open Micers podcast, at Open Micers on Twitter and Instagram, we got so many cool comedians coming up in the next month and a half. I don't even know. I can't even remember right offhand who we have, but we have a lot of famous comedians coming on. So just go to openmicers.com and you can go scroll down to the bottom of the page and it'll show you our show schedule for the next, up until like September, I think. We've got so many cool comedians coming on. So go check that out at openmicers.com. And I think that's pretty much just going to do it this week. And before we go, I did want to remind everybody, you can leave voicemails for us. I want to start doing the voicemails section at the end of the show. So if you want to leave us a 30-second to a minute voicemail, just go to anchor.fm/nerdcaveretro and just leave us a voicemail right there in the anchor.fm app or website. So go do that for us, please.
Yes.
And so Derek, anything else before we leave here this evening?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, let me play our music here. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And this is where I usually name off all the places that we're at. So I'm just going to say nerdcaveretro.com takes you to our link tree, and it goes everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Anchor, everywhere. nerdcaveretro.com. And, of course, our merch shop. Go get you a Planet Juice t-shirt. If you're playing Final Fantasy VII, go get a Planet Juice t-shirt at ncrmerch.com. And you don't have to get a shirt. You can get a mug or a wall hanging, whatever you need right there. Also, patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. For as little as $1 a month keeps the lights on here at the show. And, of course, leave us a review wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So, Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Yes.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
Monkey!
And that's an episode.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, full chat.
Yeah, full room tonight. Thank you guys so much. And for our 6-year anniversary. So happy anniversary, Derek.
Happy anniversary to you too, sir.
Made it 6 whole years. And I'm wondering what the next 6 holds.
Probably for me, less hair and more knee issues.
And 6 years, retro will be considered PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
I was thinking about that today too. I'm like, man, soon PS2 is going to be well, I mean, we already kind of review PS2 games, but yeah, like when PS3 and Xbox 360 become retro. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I think Nintendo is starting to get to the point where it's kind of like the Atari, because the kids are like, well, I don't want to hear about a review about Nintendo games. And that's old. That's like old stuff.
Yeah, it's like when people call the Super Nintendo old, that's where I'm like, hey, you shut your mouth.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
So, hush, keep your mouth shut. Don't
Just-
you keep the Super Nintendo out your mouth.
It's like, don't make me raise my hand.
We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back in 30 minutes with open micers, and Derek will be back on YouTube at 8 with
8
feature
p.m.
presentation. 8 p.m. So be back here with us in just a little while. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.